Hello, guys. Hello, hello, hello.
Great to see you. Hi, everybody. Good to see you, Pedigree Monkey, Robbie. Oh, gosh.
K-Heads.
Okay, heads. It's good to see you here.
Yes, hello up there in Massachusetts.
I like that. I like that.
That's pretty true. It's definitely pretty true.
Indeed. Oh, there's Israel in the house. Watch out for that sassy Susie. She can be kind of ornery. Christina Love, great to see you. Hi, Regina.
Hey there, Regina. We spoke with Regina earlier. Rosalea Eduardo. Annie Lou Who.
Annie Lou Who, great to see you. Hey, that kind of rhymes.
It sure does. Been a long day, guys. Crazy. There's Diana. She's in the house. We were up in, where were we? Little Rock. We took a trip to Little Rock today. And we met an old friend, and it was wonderful. Jason in Oz, good to see you. Tertarian Vagabond, KK, much love. So, yeah, we've been driving all day, and we basically got back, put things away, and then headed straight into the live. Because we miss you guys.
Oh, and there she is. Made it. Good to see Karma Doc. Hi.
Hello there, Karma Doc. It's been forever. DJ 57, good to see you. And there's Rosemary too. Awesome. So, I mean, there's two ladies that we literally trust with our lives, and that's our ER Karma Doc and Rosemary DeJuric. And, there's some amazing people out there in the medical field. I do want to say that.
Indeed. There really are some very beautiful people out there that are pointing things in the right direction. Aw, thank you, KK. Sending you so much love. I'm proud to say we just started our journey on incubating baby geese from the Shit Hits the Fan farms.
Yes, actually, yes, we did. We had a meeting with the owner of Hits the Fan Farms, and that is actually truly its name. And so, yeah, we are going off, and we're going to go down the road of raising chickens, ducks, and geese, and it's just time.
Well, it is SHTF, but we all know what we think about when we say that.
Yeah, so I have a lot of work in front of me. Coops being built. I have so much construction ahead of me. It's a little bit overwhelming, but we'll just nibble at it one piece at a time.
This guy thrives on overwhelm. I mean, really.
I like to keep busy.
He does. He says, stop it some more.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's exciting. It's something that I've really wanted to do a long time. And, the reality is this one next to me, she grew up on a farm. So she's, an old hat at it. There's Mary Moore and Day of the Cow.
Indeed. Great to see everybody. I grew up on a farm, and we rotated our own food. We made all of our own food. So but gosh, I'm like ancient now. So I have to go back and dig. And luckily I have some very good friends to help me.
Yes, absolutely. So, yeah, what do we all bring back? We brought back right now is in our little homemade incubator. We have geese and ducks and chickens and
I don't think we have ducks. I think it's just geese and chickens. Just geese and chickens, but we're wanting it ducks.
I thought she gave us a couple of duck eggs too.
Maybe she did. I'm not sure. It was so exciting to see Renee. I did not compute everything, but we have a whole lot of really good farm raised food.
Yeah, we are just over the border, but Arkansas, Texas, Texarkana area, the greater Texarkana area is where we've been. We've just changed locations in that area a couple of times. As when you move to an area, and you like the general area and it suits you, but then it takes a little while to know exactly where you really want to be. Mm-hmm. And sometimes better things open up, and This land, we had 4 acres that was almost entirely wooded. Now we have 4 acres that's really kind of cleared for farming. So this is more suitable, and we're right next to one of the bigger lakes in the area. So, at worst case scenario, if you could catch a fish, you're not going to starve.
Indeed. And it's great to see you too, Susan Donahue, in the house.
Yes, absolutely. Beyond Truth, good to see you. Rosebud Atkins, always a pleasure. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. I can't wait. This one hit me. There's a lot of different things going on right now. You have a bright fireball across the sky over Western Europe on March 8th, producing meteorites that struck residential buildings in Koblenz, Rhineland, Palatinate, in Germany. Several fragments penetrated roofs in the city's Gulls district and damaged houses, while meteorites were recovered shortly after the event. No injuries reported, thankfully. That's rare, to have more than one house hit by meteorites. It feels like we're just in different times, I mean, kind of crazy. So this is apparently the object here, passing over. Just your typical thing that we see time and time again, but we don't see, we don't see multiple houses being hit often. So, it just feels like we are in different times. Remember Vancouver, right? That was an interesting event. There's been booms. I've heard a lot of booms, and a lot of people have heard booms in different locations. Could it be that we're getting peppered by debris a lot more often right now? I mean, when you look at the times we're in, it's undeniable. It seems like so many prophecies are coming true right before our eyes. They're being fulfilled. And in the middle of all these prophecies, you have, the prophecy from Revelations of wormwood coming in. And you have many different prophecies that speak of asteroids or some big objects coming in. So, we also have all the stories and history of the Wars of the Gods. Don't forget 1565 Nuremberg, when the entire population witnessed what looked like a drone battle and a battle from, straight out of Star Wars up in the sky. We live in crazy times, but then maybe the times are always crazy, and we just had like a lull in the previous period of time. And now things are just going back to being a little bit more outwardly crazy.
Yeah, well, the planetary positions right now are truly no joke, and they are very, very difficult to walk through. Right now we have intensification of Mercury in retrograde, which that just means the technology is not going to do as you asked. Like we were using the GPS going where we were going, and we had the same information in both phones, and I hit my directions and Mike hit his, and the directions took us both in opposite ways. So, and just stuff like that all morning, the directions have been crazy. Information has been crazy. So not only that, but it's really being amplified with Rahu and Mars. When Rahu and Mars is together, Rahu amplifies whatever planet it is next to. And it's right next to Mars, which is right next to Mercury retrograde. And there's some other things going on as well. I'm really watching Saturn and Neptune, because Neptune is illusion, and Saturn is really breaking apart that illusion. Saturn's not going to allow illusion to stay with us anymore. And I believe that's why we are seeing what we're seeing. It's pretty rough right now. So if you're having hard emotions, just work through it. It's going to pass.
Yeah, this is, there's so much going on at the same time from many different levels. Spiritually, there's just this huge awakening that is only going to increase. So yeah, the question is it really a meteorite? Or, again, is this part of the battles of the gods literally overhead? I think the timeline that we're going down is one that's going to boggle people's minds. Really, I think we will see things that we probably did not think would be possible. Maybe not, that we never even conceived of. So yeah, it's really wild. Susan says she dreamed of something big coming in. It hit something like the moon. Watch debris coming in. Diana says, I do hear a lot of booming, but her man's dad loves to watch the WE. Yeah. Okay. Well, that would do it. Good to see you, Jet. Good to see you. Yeah, if you're too close to the city lights, yeah, you miss things, and just even we went through, smaller towns. But I'm just so used to the sticks now. I like it way out, I just I can't handle the energy of even a town of 50,000 now. And that's what I grew up in. And it does have its benefits as far as, shopping and restaurants and all. But man, when you get out there where you could really see the sky, especially out in the desert, it's mind-blowing. It just makes you know that we're not alone. How about this, guys? How about this? Is this somebody's fakery? I mean, seriously. That looks like somebody's got a cross up in the sky. Is there a mountain back there? Maybe there's a mountain back there that we don't know of, and it's, just a cross because there's a church up there on top of a mountain in the background. Yeah, it could be. It could be. Or is this Project Bluebeam? Are they trying to, play with that now?
Oh, that's probably the camera.
I think that's his camera. Yeah, because it's following the way he's tracking. I don't think he's inside. It doesn't look like he's inside. Could be inside from a window, and maybe that's reflection. Even when I say stuff like this, you'll get people that comment and say, "Oh, don't you know? That's just we're saying this." I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Do I think it really is real? I don't know. I
think at some point we will see things like this, and they will be very real. Is this on a mountaintop? Probably, but I think seeing things in the sky like this, people are watching and they're waiting for something like this to be, become true. I think we're seeing the future of things like this being very difficult to explain.
I think what you do have is you have people legitimately that are paid debunkers. They are paid debunkers. So I think that, there's a lot of stuff that's put out there that's not real. And then it's put out there to make everything as if, nothing is really happening. This is just, we understand false flags, right? And, I think it's the same thing. They use paid debunkers to insert stuff literally to, disqualify the thoughts of anything that could really be real being real.
And Miss Susan Donahue, Project Jim Beam.
Yeah, right? Oh, man. There you go. A little hot cross bun up in the sky. I still wonder what Ezekiel's wheel UFO drone could have been. Now, this over New Mexico, this is during the New Jersey drone saga in 2024. This one was really cool. You guys remember this one? That's cool. It looks, to me, like obviously that looks very mechanical. Has a mechanical feel. I don't know. Now that definitely could be just our technology, or it still could be somebody else too.
Well, to me, just because I keep going back to Ezekiel's wheel, because that was the first time I started looking at things in the Bible through the perspective of technology and AI technology. So whenever I see that, I'm always like, oh, is that Ezekiel's wheel?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we know we've been divided and intentionally, and dogma there's nothing that divides us more than dogma. And here you go. Here's another thing that looks weird. Okay, they're setting up, right, putting a little presidential seal there. But did you see, like, when the people walk right by, what is that? Is that not really, a place to put your notes, and it's not really like clear plastic, or is it clear plastic, or is this whole thing fake? Is the whole thing completely fake? Is it all? Is it just projectors? I mean, what's going on?
Yeah, or those just projector things. And now, because of what's going on, and I felt a few years ago that many of these politicians and big people are not going to be showing themselves in public for obvious reasons. It's going to become quite a difficult issue for them to put their bodies in public, because people are angry and they're just they're pushing back.
Yeah, absolutely. But see, I mean, this is the thing. I think they want to make everybody question your own sanity. It really feels like they like to play games. They really love to play games. Is it one big IQ test for humanity?
Is it teleprompters? That just, to me, that looks like a odd angle for teleprompters, maybe? I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe it is some sort of screen-based teleprompter. Could be. This could be, again, nothing, but it's just how there's so many things that have all been sleight of hand and illusion. And then there are things that are other dimensional and non-terrestrial. Ships are beginning to safely make it through the Strait of Hormuz. Again, this says, as the U.S. military masterfully decimates the Iranian Navy. So, yeah, ships are now transiting again, and the oil prices have dropped. Again, everything is delayed because gas prices definitely went up quite a bit. We noticed that out there. And, you got a lot of different oil fields ablaze. Yeah, it's still a mess out there. There's still these type of strikes happening. Again, this is Israel. And, the war is still raging, and you're getting mixed signals too. I kind of feel that, watch out for this Friday. There's a lot of weird things going on. There's some astrological signs pointing that Friday might be a day where you might have some bigger events happening. It is the 13th too, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something to really pay attention to, again, when it comes to your words and feeling cranky at other people or feeling cranky on social media. Just don't. Just do not. Just breathe and pause and pass. That to me is the best thing to do when we have these difficult planetary positions, is just take a deep breath and realize that some people don't know that it could be something planetary or something frequency. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're not adding in extra frequency on top of those difficult planetary positions, so people just lose it. Because yeah, people are snapping. They're not happy. They're absolutely not happy, some of them. And for us to be mindful, I think, is the right thing to do, because a lot of times when people snap, they go back and they say, wow, why did I do that? That was not me. And that's hard. It's hard. It's something that, you can't always control, and then people come back and they look for forgiveness. So I guess you just give someone the same grace that you would want to be given.
And Trump here saying that the war is ahead of schedule. He floats the idea of ending the war in Iran after a mysterious call with Putin. So what was said? Was it, some sort of declaration like, get this thing done with, quickly, or else? The reality is that the U.S.'s stockpile and the EU's stockpile of weapons has been greatly depleted. If, again, we are to take at face value what we hear from military officials, again, everything that's been put out there. We've used a ton of weaponry in Ukraine. We've used a ton of weaponry here. The U.S. has had, it's been in war after war after war, especially since 9/11. And we understand the profits of the military-industrial complex. Maybe the only more profitable business has been the pharmaceutical industry, who, those two are very, very profitable, and we understand that clearly. Yet, are we, the U.S. and Europe, intentionally having our stockpiles depleted in these wars, skirmishes that are ongoing now, so that when Russia, China, and maybe some other bigger countries get involved, we won't be able to withstand that and keep up with production? So many of our silicon chips come from Taiwan. If Taiwan was taken over quickly by China, we wouldn't be able to produce a lot of technology, and that's part of the other part of the picture. So is the war almost done? The son of the former Ayatollah has officially taken over, and of course he's had his father killed and much of his family killed. So obviously he's going to have a vendetta. The Dow was closed up 200 points after dropping nearly 900 points at its session low. They're hinging on every single statement. So do you put out there that this could end very quickly now, maybe, just to bump things up as far as stocks and things go? Make it look a little bit better? Or is this just simply trying to placate people as Trump threatens harder strikes if Iran hits the global oil supply, but at the same time pledges that the excursion is almost complete because their military is almost non-existent? Yeah, it's a lot of conflicting statements that come out, but the Polish psychic and many other people, the Polish psychic gets that Trump did not have a choice, that he was forced to do this strike, that he really didn't want to do it, but he also didn't want other things that possibly could happen if he didn't do the strike to happen to perhaps him, perhaps to family members, his legacy, etc., etc. So I guess the Polish psychic is getting Krzysztof Tchaikovsky, that he had, in Trump's mind, he had no choice. But you always have a choice. You can be a martyr and take one for the team. At the same time, I don't think there's many politicians that truly ever even consider doing that.
Yeah, there's so much going on. And someone says, Dave Devine bugging out. Mike and Cindy are perfect for that homestead. Oh my gosh, if only. We would love to bounce around homesteads. We got to keep eyes on this one. So, but yeah, we definitely want to be out there visiting people as soon as it's safe.
Yeah, and we shared with you guys years ago that we got from our guides that we're supposed to anchor light here, anchor positive frequencies here until around 2030, and then we could kind of semi-retire. Yeah. So we're hunkering in and hunkering down until about that point, and then we'll look, and maybe we'll start to actually try to do some bucket list things. But I do think, guys, I really truly think, and I hope it's not the case, but I think we're going to have a couple of challenging years. So I think it's pretty obvious, even just with what's happened right now, food prices are going to go up, and it's good to be as self-sufficient as you can and to help others where you can.
Yeah, take a look at what Susan Donahue wrote up there about the 6.0. This stuff is like super crazy right now. And, in Louisiana, there's all kind of those shakers going on in one spot, and they're all the same depth, which is really weird. And we just have never seen this before, and not in Louisiana like that.
No, and I'm going to cover it in about 10 more tabs.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is. And I do expect big ones. I was thinking before that 2024 would have been the year of the big ones, but they didn't really manifest. Yeah, we had some big ones, but I mean the really big ones. So it feels, I think they will manifest before we get to 2029, 2030. I think when we get to 2030, the control system thinks it's going to have, or they're hoping that they have us all totally in a 1984 Orwellian situation. I think it's not going to be the case. I really don't see how they're going to be able to do it. Maybe if there's only 500 million people left on the planet, but I don't think they're going to achieve what they have been trying to achieve. Yet here you are. They are starting this war. It is pretty much underway. Even though China, the U.S., Russia haven't struck at each other directly, obviously proxy wars have been ongoing. I think there's been some serious restraint in some places, and then definitely a lack of restraint in others. Iran says no room for talks as U.S. seeks to partition country and take their oil. Yeah, I mean, pretty much they did talk about taking the oil from Iran straight out. And, by the way, a lot of gold went from Venezuela up north of the border. And I'm sure there's a lot of oil, flowing. This is it's wiping away the illusion and let you know that, yes, there has been an empire. The U.S., as we know, has been at war almost its entire existence. 90-something% of the time we've had a war going on. It's, has not been peaceful, but there haven't been really any peaceful years at all when you look back the last 6,000 years. So, yeah, I actually think that even if the U.S. doesn't do anything directly to escalate things, I think there's another country in the Middle East that will.
The importance of when we come together here in these chats, I can't really express how important it is that our energies come together whenever we can. Human connection really does change things like that. The close connection is the best, but we're beings that we actually transfer different hormones, and we can awaken each other, and we can shed that light. We can give our information to someone else in close proximity. We can do it distant too, but I think the best thing to do is, hang out with other people and get with other groups of people, because that's how we light each other up. And it's beautiful, and it's a sacred thing. And they've tried really hard to keep us separated, but I'm glad we can come in here on chat, because I believe our energy makes a difference every time we do in the world issues right now.
Yes, and like, share, and subscribe, because I'm not always so good about bringing these things up. But definitely, and Heart's Home as well, our newest channel, the baby channel, exactly. And it's good to see that the last video did much better over there as well. So Iran fires a 1-ton warhead missile in 33rd wave of attacks. This is from RT, by the way. 33rd wave. There's message here, because I do think, that what Christoph has seen is what I think everybody's going to take as being a limited NUKE launched by Israel that maybe hits Tehran, somewhere in Iran, most likely. I do think that that's the surprise that Netanyahu mentioned. So even if we don't escalate anymore, I do think that they're likely to do that, because, again, now it's not a public secret. And I told you guys years ago that what they want to manifest is greater Israel. Greater Israel is the goal. And it's because it's quote unquote biblical. And that means Israel taking over like 5 countries, big chunks of 5 or 6 countries. This goes all the way back to, again, General Wesley Clark putting out the statement, 7 countries in 5 years. Well, Iran was the last one, and now it's, again, part of the prophecy being fulfilled, which is nothing other than a script being acted out.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a script, and they're going to play their script. So our best bet is to do what we need to do for ourselves. We have to hang on. We have to take care of each other where we can, support each other. Even if it's just emotionally, that's really important. Back somebody up emotionally if that's all you can offer. offer them space, hold space for them, and then, do what you can do on your own property, because they're just going to plow forward with this agenda that they have so that they can recreate a world that's more beneficial to them. We just really have to take care of ourselves right now.
Yeah, and we could take care of each other. And, that's going to be a thing. We can see what it's going to look like when we get out of this, in that what's going to happen is people are going to become a little bit more tribal, and you're going to focus on your area. I do think that there's going to be pockets of the world where there's more and more freedoms that come quicker, and there's other pockets that are going to be residual places where this dark control system is still going to be hanging on a little bit tougher. And, running the gauntlet. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is to help with the geese. We appreciate that, because we're going to have to get together. We're going to have to put together a really nice house for them, and we're going to have fencing and get all the things set up. So that's really, really helpful. Thank you so much. And we'll send you pictures. We'll show you all pictures when we get everything up.
So here you go. You have this. Reports indicate the United States has intercepted encrypted communications believed to be from Iranian officials that allegedly discuss activating sleeper cells across Western countries, including within the United States. According to the early intelligence reports, the messages were intercepted by U.S. intelligence agencies, now being analyzed. Federal authorities closely monitoring the situation. When will that happen? I think, again, anytime now, because the attack on Iran has happened. But what the Polish psychic saw was the big blast that's coming, that surprise Netanyahu talked about. That'll be what activates them. And then we will see, when we're talking about the prophecies of Nostradamus, where he says that these clever men with weapons hiding under their robes will literally burn to the ground different cities. This I think is the sleeper cells being activated, and we all know there's millions of people in European cities and in the United States that came over with, many of them, most of them, came over for opportunity. Yet, even if it's only 1% or if it's 10%, then you have massive armies of already put in place individuals, sleeper cells, that will be activated. And it's going to be war deep behind the front lines, which, when you look at the history of war, if you could infiltrate and have way behind the front lines strong forces in place, that can make life miserable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what they want to do. They want to make things miserable for people so that they can't survive. They can't get all the basic needs. Stress is one of the most important things they want to apply, because that just starts breaking down the body, even if you are eating really healthy. Stress, no sleep, all the things, it's not good. And there's a lot of things you can do to counter that. And it's very important that we take care of our bodies and be good to ourselves and treat ourselves in a way that is going to help us go out of fight or flight. Anytime we can do that, that's important.
There was a lot of fear in Europe when we go back, several hundred years. Even going back, almost 1,000 years. Think back to the time of the Crusades and all. And, just on that note, too, we don't really even know this. There are some very intelligent people that think that a lot of our history is bunk, and it's been, played with and added to. And maybe when we think it was 2,000 years back to the historical birth of the person known as Yeshua, Jesus, it might have been a lot less than that. And what Nostradamus said when he's talking about the Third World War, and it's clear too, because the Third World War is different from the Second World War in that it is a jihad. It is a jihad. It's a Islamic holy war against the United States and Europe. And he said Florence would be burned twice by men that have gone ahead of the regular forces to infiltrate and, when the time is right, literally cause all sorts of havoc with sleeper cell activation and literally burning cities to the ground before the regular army comes along. But he also saw an Islamic invasion of Italy as part of his visions.
Yeah, as you know, Morfet, I know our friends over there in Australia, they're just not being treated fairly at all. So, this is another place we can gather our energy and we can make the intention to send it over there, that they find some kind of relief, because I don't think it needs to be that way. And what are people going to do? And they do panic, and even if things are not stocked, it's like, what am I trying to say? When people panic, even if they don't need it, they get it just because they're panicked. And that's not good either. That's not good. That's terrible. So we'll put our intention out there for your friend and for Rosemary and for all of our other Oz people, because Australian people are awesome. They are so balanced. They're some of the most kind, balanced people that we ever work on, and we just truly, truly adore them. So we'll put positive energy their way.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. A war for the human mind. You are right, Scott, there. And yeah, I could see that, Robbie, with the turbans emulating a bigger head and the Pope hat. So, that what they said, Iran said it was an American Tomahawk cruise missile that hit a school that killed 165 people. This is some video supposed to be that, in which it doesn't necessarily look like a Tomahawk. And so I was listening to different experts dissecting this before when we were driving. And the experts that I was listening to, they came to the conclusion that they thought perhaps it was actually that other country in the Middle East that we talked about before that perhaps was using this as a tactic. There's so much going on. It's just going to be this way. You don't get straight answers, really. And you're always going to have all sides trying to sow information and disinformation to make themselves look better and to make the opposing side look worse. Yet at the same time, if we didn't have the leadership that we do on the planet, we wouldn't have this war. This war was so avoidable. It was not inevitable. The only thing that made it inevitable is the control system that is in place wants it. And most people in this world do not want it. So it's time for the people around the world to get rid of the control system and recognize that it's one big mob split up into all these different groups that do, take shots at each other because they all want to be rich, famous, and will do anything for it to be the most, again, the number one head honcho on the planet. They're all so egotistical and just self-centered and arrogant and pompous. I just think it's all a prerequisite to be a politician in this world. They really pick from among the worst entities in the planet. But the question is, are those even the original entities that are operating those bodies? Because it may not be the case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you gotta ask, how do they put different souls in different bodies? Is there a process for that? And if you look close enough, you do find some oddities that are very strange. I don't know if Rosemary is still in there, but if she could leave a link. She has she's putting up a channel for her fellow Aussies, and so yeah, if you could put that in comments, and we'll figure out a way to get it to everybody.
And so here is a mayor and his deputy shot by a gunman inside a restaurant in northern Israel. I think that, we were just talking about different sleeper cells being activated. Yeah, get ready, because this type of stuff is going to happen. And this is when we were, this is like the time when I was like thinking years ago to get away from any of the bigger cities. And yeah, I mean, I couldn't stand being just 20-something miles from New York, 30 miles from New York. Grew up in that area, but, at the same time, very glad to be far out in the country. And you're going to have challenges anywhere you are. That's the bottom line. It's really, again, about putting up your own shield around you. And there's a little frog. He's so cute up on the window. Look at him.
Gosh.
We have a frog sighting. He's on the window listening to the broadcast. What a cute little guy.
What if he's a frog drone?
Yeah, maybe it's a drone. It could be. Oh, yeah, crazy times. President Putin instructs its government to consider early halt of all energy supplies to the European market. So what you have now is that BRICS has grown to be, half or better of the nations in the world, at least the ones that are aligned with the BRICS nations. So, sanctions don't work when you have half the world to support you, so to speak. And, again, we understand that all wars are banking wars, and we understand that there have been some very few countries that are not tied to the Red Shields or tied to the Rockefellers or any of those other 13 families that we're talking about. And those countries don't last long. They end up having a regime change, or there's exactly what we see going on right now happen.
Yeah, it's kind of messy.
Israel bombed the House of Russian Culture in Natabatia. This is in southern Lebanon. So Russia has confirmed this strike, says an official statement is coming. What some entities want is absolute, all-out, kind of global annihilation. That's really what they want. And you would say, that's crazy. Why would you be so self-destructive? Because aren't you going to hurt yourself? I think, again, you got to look at the bigger picture. And we don't know all the technology that's in play. We don't even know when you're seeing a leader, if it's that leader or if it's a clone or an actor in a mask. Who's to say that, we haven't been looking at the actual number one, Trump, Netanyahu, or Putin? There's just so much that's been going on. You can't trust your eyes. So feel, use your feelings, sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think they want to create a world where they can control better, and they need to get rid of all the old technology to bring in the AI.
Yeah, absolutely. They want to wipe away the old to bring in something new. And then just look to the Georgia Guidestones. 500 million, 550 million. The old writings, again, that we've gotten from the Council of 500 or the Club of Rome, anywhere between $500 million and $1 billion seems to be ideal. And when I hear that, I can't help think of the words of Enlil. Those humans are too noisy. Let's just wipe them all out. Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Xi sends a warning to corrupt elements in the Chinese army. If you've missed it, there's been a big purge going on in the Chinese leadership. It seems as if he has, Jinping has been clearing away maybe people within his power structure that are opposing the bigger picture. Corrupt elements, again, it's so hard to figure out which one's the corrupt ones when the pot's killing the kettle black, right? That's the saying.
Yeah, that's how it goes, I think.
There must be no place in the military for those who are disloyal to the party. There again, when you put the party above the actual citizens that the party is supposed to be serving, it's just all BS. And it's all about control, power, and arrogance and ego. And ultimately, you wouldn't have China where it is right now if it wasn't for the Red Shields. They financed it.
Yeah, it's not nice.
Epstein survivors just announced they're going to release their own list of names. We know who abused us. We know who came and went. This is going to be survivor-led for survivors. Say your prayers for them.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, because, I mean, honestly, again, that's a novel idea. Well, we know who it is, so we're just going to go to the press. And the press, of course, is almost entirely bought and paid for by the corruption and the corrupted entities. So, again, we cannot be still and we cannot be quiet. We have to scream louder than ever. Think about this. If we could come up with some like brand new monetary systems where we didn't need their money at all, then, Elon and Bezos and all these guys, they could keep playing, holding what they hold. But what if it was worthless? Because we decided we're not going to use any of their systems anymore. Oh, I would love to see that.
What if we just supported each other, at a very basic level and not buy into the bigger systems? But, I could just imagine some of the victims every time, every time something is brought up, for some of them, maybe they might feel victimized again. They might cringe, they might feel ashamed, they might feel sad. So they're just reliving this over and over and over. And I don't think enough emphasis is put on those who have been abused in this. Too much information just going to those who committed it, and nothing is being done. So that in and of itself is a lot of trauma. Watching them go across the TV and the whole world knows, but they're still walking. That unleashes a certain type of trauma in the human soul that is unlike any other. It's so sad.
There we go. I see our Zeno is in the house. I'm not sure when you snuck in, but good to see you. You have Senior Catholic Archbishop, a former apostolic nuncio to the United States, openly accusing global elites of infiltrating Western governments to impose Agenda 2030, calling for the arrest of Ursula von der Leyen. Yes, don't stop there. Get the Black Eye Club, because, again, there are those that believe that once you enter the Black Eye Club, you're not human anymore, that the body has been taken over by another entity, and that the original soul is no longer in charge or able to control it, if it's even there at all.
Yeah, it's a pretty disgusting process, but there is noted a process to it.
It really is Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Yeah. This is part of our sci-fi reality. But, the Catholic Church is full of blood. It has a horribly... Let's see. Reconnecting. La, 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 la. Can you hear me, guys? Yes. Okay. So, yeah, they didn't like that when we talked about the bloody history of, the Universal Church. Wow. Does that tell you a lot right there? You get OBS disconnected at that moment?
That's what I'm talking about. Like, these people get talked about, but nothing's happening to anyone but us.
So, Viv, what happens to the original soul? I think it's pushed out. It's just simply pushed out. So, existing on 4D, what we would call the astral, and most likely. Yeah, Robbie, we hit a nerve there. The wonky eye. Yeah, because again, we're having a temporary embodiment. It's temporary, so it's not our normal state of being. It's like, again, waiting in line to get on a ride. Then you get on that ride, and the ride's over before you know it. I mean, I've been on a lot of roller coasters that you spend 45 minutes waiting, and then you get on it, and it's over in 3 minutes or whatever. I think life is kind of like that.
It is, and what I see happening to the soul, I think it could go both ways. I think the soul can get completely pushed out, but what I've seen and my visions and experience is the soul becomes so small, it has no say over anything that the body is doing. Like, the body just goes on, and the soul is simply a very teeny tiny witness and can no longer move that, no longer animate that body, because it's just been rendered, it's been crippled completely.
Yeah, that is something that the guides got across to Cindy in more than one vision. And that's a horrible thing. These people, they think they're in something special, but really they're in something just so dark and hideous. And I don't think that most of them really have a clue as to what it entails in more ways than one. BlackRock just quietly filed to acquire $22 billion in single-family homes across 14 states. 47,000 homes that won't be available for normal Americans to buy. Meanwhile, home ownership rates for Americans under 40 hit an all-time low because, again, they want everybody to rent everything, including their underwear.
Yeah, they don't mind.
No, they don't mind. Again, we have to I think they're going to be in shambles. I think that, the ending for the control system is going to be pretty ugly. And, it's going to be just an utter shambles. Now, this is what we were talking about. Louisiana rocked by 4 earthquakes days after the strongest quake in decades. Magnitude 4.9 quake on March 6 was the strongest to strike this part of the U.S. in 14 years. And when you look at it, here it is. It's basically due south of Shreveport. And, we've, been up in that area for a while. Here we go. Let's go over here. This is what we have for the month. There's 9 quakes in this area. There is a lot of fracking in this area. We've driven this area down by Coushatta, and 9 quakes is really unusual. There is a lot of fracking, so it could be that. When you look at, or it could be military base, honestly, bunkers, 11 kilometers, 11, 9, 8.4, 9.8, 11, 5.55, 3 5s. Yeah, what do you think? Can you see anything?
It feels to me, if I just feel in my gut, it feels like they're doing something underground, but I don't know how. I just don't know how, but it feels very sterile. It doesn't feel like it's earth doing anything.
So do you feel this is like expanding military operations or something?
I think it could definitely be something like that. I could be wrong, but this is just so unusual, and there's just a lot of coincidences going on with it.
It is a heavily fracked area, so that is also something that contributes to it. But also, when you look up here, and you could see right away, there you have Barksdale Air Force Base, right? There's Barksdale, and you can see where the quakes are. So, is it military expansion? Then also over here, this is Louisiana Army ammunitions plant. So there's a lot of military storage here, a lot of military equipment, bombs, and things like that. Barksdale, they have nuclear bombers there. So I don't know. I guess I'm thinking it's something to do with the military is basically what I think.
I think so too. I think that's definitely something to do with that. And I always remember things from the Bible when it did say, there's going to be earthquakes in really strange places, and this is definitely a strange place.
Yeah, because there's a lot that goes on under our feet that we don't know about. Over here too, this is pretty close to Califon, and where we saw swarms of quakes over in New Jersey, which is weird. But yeah, over the last couple of years, there's been a lot of quakes in this area. There was 2 there in the last 30 days. If we look at some of the rest, here you go. This one right here is a 6.0. This is in Italy. Oh, okay. So this is 373 kilometers deep. Oh, that's not good because that's pretty deep. I think there's a good chance we could have something pretty damn big over in this area. When you're starting to talk about, maybe a 6.5 to a 7 somewhere in Italy, then you could really get a lot of damage. But, there's prophecy of the city in Seven Hills being destroyed. Rome's on Seven Hills. So's London and so's DC for that instance anyway. Pretty wild. We have some quakes over in Turkey as well. 5.1. This area too can see a lot of damage when you get a bigger one. Let's see. I'll open up one of these other ones when we move a little bit over to see what they're talking about with that. But yeah, this is significant, and the fact that it's this deep means it's probably pushing energy to give you another one at least as big or bigger somewhere downstream, so maybe farther up here or over in any direction, really. We'll have to see what manifests, but it just feels like this could definitely be a harbinger for a much bigger one. Hungary detains Ukrainians shipping tens of millions in cash and gold. Again, money laundering. It's very real. So much of the money we've been giving to Ukraine is simply padding the pockets of these crooks. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty horrible.
Yeah. Hey, Tori. Good to see you. We talked about a cross in the sky and some weird stuff going on, and we updated the war a little bit, quite a bit, but there's still more to come. So, yeah, again, Hungary right now is they're almost getting to the point of declaring a conflict of their own against Ukraine. And, by the way, if we're looking at these countries, you can see Ukraine's right here. Here's Hungary. They do share a border. So that's something to note. And then we have this. Now, quite a few people think this is just maybe it's what you would call it, those electrical.
No, I don't. Yeah. Like harp. Something like harp.
Well, no, not like harp, but just simply power stations or relays. But I don't know. Other people aren't buying that and think it could be some other form of maybe energy weaponry going on. By the way, this is over Tehran, so it could be anything over Tehran at this point in time. There are some videos out that I didn't think to show you guys because I thought they looked to be too fake. But when I'm seeing this from a distance, it almost reminds me of those videos that we thought looked too fake.
Yeah, it looks kind of yucky.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of weaponry that we're going to see that we've never seen in our lives. Union City tornado becomes the earliest EF3 on the record for Michigan. So again, all sorts of records when you're talking about destructive weather. 42 people killed in Kenya. This is Nairobi. They've had one flood after another. And literally, again, when you look to Africa, it's splitting. Now, they say it's going to take, hundreds of thousands of years, if not more, for Africa to split along the trench that's developing. But I think these things happen way quicker than they say. You're curious about how expensive gas is in your state? Look to California, guys. $5.20 a gallon. Yeah, the prices have jumped drastically. Oregon, $4.20. Washington, $4.63. Nevada, $4.21. Arizona, $3.85. New Mexico, $3.28. That's one of your better ones. Minnesota, $3.25. You can see North Carolina, Virginia. $3.04. Louisiana. $2.99 in Arkansas. I can vouch for that. I actually saw $2.79, one station that we drove by today. Kansas, $2.92. Looks like Arkansas is one of your best ones right there. Mississippi at $3.04. It really varies so much. It's just a matter of how much does your state want to profit off of you when you get down to it. In South Dakota, you can challenge somebody's citizenship. You could say, I don't think this guy is really a voter here, or this gal. They've actually gone ahead and South Dakota residents will be allowed to challenge each other's citizenship at the polls after the state passed new voter registration laws. So you actually do have to show some sort of proof of ID. And, what the heck is wrong with that? I don't think, you would think you got to show an ID. I get carded. I'm 60 and still I would get carded. And I got carded the other day, right? For non-alcoholic beer, organic non-alcoholic beer, because I don't drink anymore, and yet still sometimes I'll crave like the flavor. So, I get this organic non-alcoholic beer and I still got carded. And it's like, don't you know that's not alcoholic?
Well, there's that. And then in this area, there's this law where you can't buy alcohol on Sundays, not until after 2 p.m. And Mike tried to go to the store and buy non-alcoholic drinks on a Sunday before 2 p.m. and they wouldn't sell it. They just wouldn't sell it. That was a good one. I told him he should have just bought juice.
Yeah, exactly. They have a non-alcoholic wine too for $20 a bottle, and it's like, yeah, and at the same time, you might as well just buy grape juice. But then again, we don't want the carbs, so this is why most of the time I just drink either plain water. Wow, yeah, they don't want us to say, cancer. Think anti-parasites, right? Anti-parasitic. Under federal pressure, more gender clinics halt procedures of the youngins. There are some things that are happening that are positive, but this kind of sucks. Do you remember Tommy DiCarlo? Do you remember Boston? What a band. These guys were great. More Than a Feeling, dead at 60 after battle with brain cancer. It's really sad. Again, I don't know what he did or what he didn't do. I think we all need to be always working on detoxing in this world because, again, toxic overload and parasitic overload, I view those two things as being the things that we have to constantly be aware of and trying to counteract.
Every day, not every day is going to be perfect, but just do something.
No audio, Zeno. Can you guys hear? Do send our prayers for him, and hopefully do send our prayers for him, and hopefully you guys can hear me as this just keeps.
Buffering. Everyone says it's buffering really bad.
There you go. Okay, until this happens, nothing will change, and you're right. But even if this happens, right? Who's to say that they're not all going to an island somewhere and just partying? They're all just retiring and going to a tropical paradise. They're at Rikers, they're at Sing Sing, they're off somewhere. Sure, they might just be partying with the E-Man.
Yeah, you just never know. You never know. It's disgusting.
Yeah, we're getting there, guys. Just a few more. So NATO knows of 12 alien species, and they've been here for thousands of years. Don Phillips, who worked for the Air Force, Lockheed Skunk Works, and as a CIA contractor, talks about the agreements made between Eisenhower and the alien races, which are on film. Again, you've had so many officials come out and tell us about this. I think also, though, you do have a counterculture there. There's some very well-known bigger channels that say they're all just simply fallen angels and Nephilim, and there's no such thing as an extraterrestrial, or there's no such thing as an alien per se. I think that is exactly part of the plan, because you are still dividing us. You divide us by the dogma, divide us by the monetary system, and definitely geopolitically as well. But when your belief system is predicated on the fact that we're all that there is, then that falls apart when you really look at the realization that there's beings all around us all the time. There's other planets, there's other dimensions, there's so many different densities, so it's tough. It's tough for people to accept a lot of things. So then they go the opposite way and view, well, that's a fallen angel. Okay, the original interpretation of angel is messenger. So that's a fallen messenger. Yeah, it's a messenger from from Aldebaran or the Orion system. Again, it's just the way they've divided us. But you have so many politicians coming out. People are now very, very, I think everybody's probably heard the term reptilian. Whether you believe it or not, I think everybody's probably heard of reptilian beings by now.
Well, once you hear about it, it's a jagged pill to swallow, and some people can't get it down at first. But for me, it was something that I couldn't stay away from. I had to go back and understand it, and I did.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then you have Ross here, again, talking about portals.
Yes, there is a portal in the United States. In fact, I suspect there are multiple. But this particular portal is in a highly guarded facility that is used under the US Forest Service cover. There are men with guns who patrol it, and there are witnesses who have seen what are clearly people operating with the knowledge of the US military in civilian clothes, walking into literally a wall. These witnesses are terrified. They're not about to stick their heads up.
Walking into a wall. One time, we were driving along next to Nellis Air Force Base, and I look over to the right, and Cindy was in the passenger seat, and I see what would look to be like an F-15, and it was flying right next to us, literally 5 or 6 feet off the ground. It didn't make a sound, and then it looked like it flew straight into a mountain. And we saw this.
It was the wildest thing, and that, because I lived there for so long and I heard them and I saw them, I know what they sound like. So when it's just right out our window over a little ways, just going along with the truck, it just above the ground. And I'm like, it shocked me. It's like, where is the sound? Because when those things are up high in the air, they are loud up there. Yeah. They're really loud up there. So it's like my whole brain was doing just doing turns, because it's a big old wrench got thrown in there because there was no sound.
And I don't know why he followed us.
It was weird. We had just gotten there. We had a helicopter too. We have that on one of our shorts. And those things, weird things happened when we got to Nevada.
Yeah, this was, maybe 60 miles, 70 miles north of Vegas. It was weird. It was really weird. As super agers age, they make at least twice as many new neurons as their peers. Super agers, hippocampi, have a unique environment that supports the birth and survival of new neurons. Got to use it, guys, or you're going to lose it. Super agers are a unique group of adults over age 80 whose performance on tests of episodic memory were equal to or better than that of people in their 50s. Why? Well, they've documented this for more than 25 years. And what they've found is, again, their brains are aging a lot slower than typical adults. A lot of it has to do with our behavior. And one of the things that's really important is our relationships and engagement with others. We need to be social. We are social beings, so we need to interact with others. I think, this is part of the reason why I practice guitar, is to keep my mind flexible and do the hand-eye coordination and learning new things, which sometimes is frustrating to fumble and bumble something you don't know, and you want to go to like a song that you know that you could fly on, just because it gets frustrating to learn something new. But it's so important to learn something new. Keep challenging your mind.
Just as simple as write the ABCs with your non-dominant hand can help your brain.
Yeah, there's many things. And like we've talked about blue zones, that's where people live to very, very long ages. There's things, again, that keep coming up. And one of the things is social connections. That is, you have to have also a sense of purpose in your life. You need to have a purpose in your life. You need to have something I think that it makes you feel like you're giving back and doing something bigger.
It's so important, that physical connection. And when we got to see Karma Doc today, it's a very special connection, and you could feel it. Even the pups, they got to meet her, and the dogs were asleep, like 10 minutes after she left. So it's like they felt this energy. So it's important to get with your friends and be around other people. And I don't know if Mike can do this, but I'm going to ask him if we can pull up. If not, we can do it another time. But could we pull up the pretty geese that we're trying to hatch? Let me get the name of them. That's the name of them. Starts with a S right there.
Sebastopol?
Yeah. I just wanted to show you guys these beautiful geese that we're trying to. They're like, yard angels. They're so pretty. And I'm quite excited. So hopefully we'll get, hopefully we'll get a few to hatch. But I mean, look at these angels. Look at these angels. Look what she gave us. Hopefully, send us good juju that we might hatch them. So we're excited. They have curly, long feathers. They're like fluffy. So they're going to be super cute. I would imagine you got to keep their feathers clean. We'll have lots of water out there for them. Look at that one with the little girl. That's so pretty.
Yeah,
That's a pretty one. Yeah. We're hopeful. They're like show geese. They're so pretty, and they're huge. So wish us luck. We'll get you all some pictures as soon as we get something going, and maybe we'll start going in the direction of real homesteading stuff.
Yeah, it sounds really exciting, and we'll share all that with you guys too. And Cindy's going to give us some dings as we send out some positive energy. As I will say, Loka Samasta Suki no Bhavantu, which means may all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may my own thoughts, actions, words, and deeds add to their happiness and their freedom. Let us work together to liberate the planet from the parasitic entities that have been manipulating it.
So a huge thank you to KK and Running the Gauntlet. We appreciate your support. So hold on. You guys are amazing. Source bless and namaste.
Much love, guys. Thank you so much. Namaste.